The United Nations highest court says countries harmed by climate change may be entitled to reparations from the world's top polluters. In a landmark advisory opinion on Wednesday, the International Court of Justice said polluting countries may be in breach of international law if they don't protect the planet from the existential threat posed by climate change.
Unanimously is of the opinion that states have obligations under international human rights law to respect and ensure the effective enjoyment of human rights by taking necessary measures to protect the climate system and other parts of the environment.
Well, this marks the first time the court has considered the climate crisis. And while the ruling is not legally binding, experts say it could bolster climate negotiations and boost climate lawsuits worldwide. Joie Chowdhury is a senior attorney at the Centre for International Environmental Law. She's at The Hague and joins us live. Good to have you with us.
Thank you. Good to be here.
So the International Court has delivered what many see as a historic climate opinion. Can you explain exactly what the court said and what it means when we hear the phrase polluters must pay?
Absolutely. So the court yesterday, this was an absolutely extraordinary and unprecedented moment for climate justice. The court provided a clear legal blueprint to hold major polluters accountable and to secure remedy and reparations for climate harm. What the court clarified was what legal sources apply to define states' obligations and what they must do under international law on climate change, and what happens if they fail to meet those obligations. And they made very clear that states are liable under multiple legal sources of international law, including, of course, the climate treaties, but also human rights law, the law of the sea, customary international law. And if those obligations are breached, that full reparation is due to those who have been harmed.
So it sounds like the court's saying there's no legal loophole for climate harm under international law. Is that right? And what kind of legal precedent does this set?
The legal precedent this sets is, this is an absolutely watershed legal decision that we saw yesterday from the court, because during the proceedings, whether the written proceedings or the oral hearings that we've heard in December, you had many major polluters come and argue in a way that dilutes their responsibilities, and the court was having none of it. The court just was very clear that international law sets a clear mandate for states to do more on climate change and to protect people and the environment from climate harm.
And this case, of course, was initiated by Pacific Island students fighting climate change. This is a group of young people from some of the world's most climate vulnerable nations. What does their role in this case say about the power of youth activism?
Their power, honestly, it just gives so much hope to actually being able to secure a just and livable future, given the intensity of the climate crisis in the moment. So this idea of the case was born in a classroom, in discussions with 27 law students, and they took it from there, and with a unanimous vote from the UNGA, got the case before the International Court of Justice and secured this incredible ruling yesterday. And their work has been throughout, whether that was through diplomatic initiatives and getting states on board, whether it was influencing written submissions, whether it was actually arguing before the court, which the director of PICC, the Pacific Island Students Fighting Climate Change, did powerfully. Their president did it as well. You had other youth organizations like the World Youth for Climate Justice come in a powerful way and really creating powerful movement infrastructure around this case that will take this case forward in a very effective way, because a case is only as effective as in how it is taken forward by states, but also by the people.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I want to understand from you, where we might see the biggest ripple effects of this ruling and who's actually responsible for enforcing or upholding it. Could we see countries adjust their laws or policies in response?
Absolutely. We have seen in relation to past ICJ cases, shaping legal conduct and really influencing the legal directions of certain topics in certain contexts. So we absolutely expect this case to have tremendous ripple effects, whether that's in litigation on the international, regional, or national levels, or whether it is in the climate negotiations. Multilateralism, these processes remain extremely important because of the scope and transversal nature of climate change. And we really expect this case to be able to give small island nations and very heavily climate affected nations additional tools to bolster their arguments in these multilateral talks that happen every year. And not just climate negotiations, but also negotiations around the plastics treaty, developments in the fossil fuel non-proliferation treaty space. And also campaigns, right? So there's litigation, there's negotiations, but there's also many campaigns all across the world on phasing out fossil fuels and remedy and reparation. And this case allows those campaigns to be supercharged as well and provide leverage for campaigners to hold their governments to account to stay in conformity with the law.
It'd be interesting to see how this plays out going forward. Joie Chowdhury, great to get your perspective on all of this and the significance of this ruling. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you so much.
Well, US President Donald Trump has been trying to distance himself from Jeffrey Epstein, but about 2 months ago he was briefed on the Epstein files. What we're now learning about that briefing, next.